that Janelle?
Okay, and I've got you guys live now.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Chris. We're hopefully sorting out a technical difficulty here. It's to be just another moment or two.
Well, look at this.
Is that Janelle?
Yes, so that's on my phone, and I'm echoing really bad, so I'm going to put it on mute. But I can hear you guys on my computer. I just can't get the speaker to work because I have a new computer.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess you need Chris over there on your computer.
Mobile tech support. Okay, looks like we're all here and more or less connected. So let's go ahead and call this annual organizational meeting to order. So again, appreciate all the hard work it takes to make the easy world of technology work for us, right? So let's go ahead and kind of go through this here. So first off on our agenda is we have a whole raft of organizational things we need to address. First is the election of board officers. So that's chairman and vice chairman for this upcoming school year, starting in July and then through next June or July, I guess, until we get the next round of it. So I just kind of want to have a little discussion here. Kind of want to start by saying, I think I've had a good time as chairman, so I appreciate all the interesting challenges this year, and lots happened. And I want to acknowledge the kind of critical time we're at as a district. Not only do we have a bunch of new players with us, Mr. Marshall, as well as some new staff, of course, like every year, but all of COVID and the way our world is kind of shaping up and a lot of unknowns. This is a very critical time to really facilitate communication and to make sure that our district is hitting all the right marks for our students and our staff. Coming up, particularly the next few weeks into the school year, and then this whole year is going to be I foresee interesting challenges, a lot of changing rules, a lot of changing requirements. So it's going to, be very, very challenging, I fear. So on top of everything else. So I kind of want to start off by saying that, and hopefully have a little discussion here about how we see the chair and vice chair shaping up. And I don't know, does everyone have any thoughts or comments on how they think things might look best?
Well, I think you're doing an awesome job, Alan, and I would like that to continue.
Appreciate that, Janice. Thank you. Also say that, I kind of, from a broader viewpoint, I also believe that, having a different viewpoint at times is valuable. So just kind of for what that's worth, having a different set of eyes can be a good thing, I think, for a governing board like this.
Yeah, I can say from experience being on a board where we had multiple years with the same board chair that it wasn't, even if the person was doing a good job, it wasn't in the best interest of the board or the school district. Because of what Alan shared, is that having a different set of eyes, different background experience was very, very critical, and it's tough. Because we do have a lot coming up, but at the same time, it's
why historically has that happened? I guess I can't even imagine if my mayor changed every year and I had someone else running the meeting. That would be painful.
Right, I agree.
Nothing personal, Alan. I understand it's a big commitment, but it's not. I mean, there's still 5 different people on the board, and everybody has an equal vote. So I don't picture that swaying. I just
I-
picture the time commitment.
Yeah, yeah. And I think historically why it's happened is because when there is a lot of stuff that goes on d- during the week, or, outside of board meetings with the board chair and the vice chair, and if there's inability to ongoing communicate with the board, what I experienced with having a same board chair is there was a lot of stuff that that was viewed from one bias that didn't get conveyed to the whole board, and once it wasn't in the best interest of the school district or the board. It had nothing to do with the individual's ability to be board chair. They understood because I think it's critical that as a board chair you really truly understand what's the bylaws, you understand the laws, you understand meeting laws, but it really does make a difference when you have the same person in year after year after year. It's because we're so small. It begins to create a different type of board. I don't know how to better explain that. I can see where you're coming from, Janelle, from your experience. I just know from my experience, I would not, if I could go back, I would not have done that. The years where we changed, and ideally you will also want somebody who starts the next year the way it's been when we had it shifting, because it's been 7 years for me, is that whoever was the vice chair ended up tending to be the chair, so that there was somebody who was kind of shifted, into the next year, who had been in leadership, been working closely with the superintendent the previous year, if that makes sense. But that's been the most ideal situation.
And I think my opinion is it's that historical mode that I'm really not in favor of personally, where it's chair, vice chair dealing directly with the superintendent. That's obviously an informal situation that we have adopted because that's not Robert's rules. Robert's rules: the chair runs the meeting and breaks ties for votes. That's essentially the chair's role. And I think that over time, I think the chair has been given a lot of influence, whereas just like Janelle said, every board member has equal influence, but it doesn't really work out that way because I can tell you just from my experience this year from vice chair, meeting with the superintendent once a month outside of a board meeting, I was a lot more informed than I was as a actual board member. And so I don't feel like that's the best practice either, because you kind of can get a little, you get a little lenient with what's happening and questioning. Listen, it's just not as transparent to the board as a whole, I guess. When
I agree with you, Jay, wholeheartedly.
So if we can establish a system where, a board, one of the suggestions I was thinking about was, if we're going to, at the end of the meeting, right before board member discussions, if we have an opportunity to talk about the upcoming agenda on the agenda, then I think board members then have an opportunity to kind of discuss what they'd like to talk about in the future. And if it's worthy of being on that agenda, it may just get dealt with right there in a discussion. But at least it's an opportunity to have everybody have input on that agenda as opposed to just two individuals. So I don't know. I feel like there's an answer. I just, you guys would have great feedback on it. What that answer could be. I know that right now it feels like the vice chair and chair have significant more influence than the rest of the board members when it comes to developing what we actually talk about.
Yeah.
But Jay, it sounds to me like you're not addressing whether or not it's a good idea to change chair and vice chair, but the role of chair and vice chair.
Well, what I'm saying, Janice, is I think the problem with a chair that's been a chair year after year after year after year is that person ends up having a lot more influence because the superintendent starts to lean on the chair a lot more because you're having those meetings in between our actual board meetings, almost like for city council purposes, the mayor, you're having meetings with that person outside of your actual board a lot more. And that person then has a larger informal capacity. And I think that's what Catherine is talking about, where, one person doing that year after year after year can have a lot of influence on what happens over the school in the right direction and maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think I kind of, it's a good way of forming up. I think what I was kind of thinking too is just kind of be able to spread that relationship around and not get, that too comfort level, I guess. Maybe I don't really want to say, but just that undue influence, I guess.
And here's what I have experienced, and Jay, I appreciate you saying that, because I would personally, I have wanted this to change the dynamic of this because of what I've observed. I think having somebody as board chair to manage the meeting. Obviously, we don't follow Robert's Rule of Order because of how we're elected for each as an individual vote versus somebody who would have a tie-breaking vote. But there's got to be a way. It's understandable when the superintendent is, the old way of doing it, the superintendent was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. I'm going to just call the board chair. And then they have a discussion, and then that's where influence happens, and the rest of the board is not even aware of that discussion. And then at the same time, it is reasonable to understand that having the superintendent have to have an individual conversation with every board member is also a more difficult thing. But I think, David, one of the things you've been doing that I am in favor of is and I want to acknowledge, and I think this may help shift, is that when there is something that a superintendent feels the need, okay, this is something we need to work through, this is brewing, anything that's going on, you send an email out, you remind board members to not respond to the email, because then that's, a meeting, but rather to respond individually. And if there's something that you need feedback on, then that would be a way for us to create a different dynamic rather than you calling the board chair. Although you could call the board chair, and the board chair could then individually call every board member, but there's some iffy things there as to whether that's an actual meeting too. Because it can be, if you discuss what somebody else said when you're discussing to another board member, then you've just created a meeting. But I think one way of breaking that is to have the superintendent send an email out rather than pick up the phone and call the board chair. Send an email out and say, hey guys, this is what's happening. I wanted to give you a heads up. I would like some feedback in this area. Please contact me. I think that would be a far healthier way.
And Catherine, thank you. And I think that's part of, as when we have our meeting and retreat with Steve Kelly, that's his intent of working with us, on that, what makes the best sense for you as a group, and how do we want our communication protocol to look. So as I understand it, that's going to be part of that work. What is it, next Saturday?
Yeah. And then that could be a discussion about how we change the dynamics of what board chair and vice chair look like. So, I mean, in that context, it's not an issue to have somebody continue on as board chair.
Okay, well, what other thoughts do we have? Or I guess I'd be looking for nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Alan Nidifer for chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Just because I kind of said my piece, I'll go ahead and nominate Catherine, if she'll have it.
Yeah, I'll yes, thanks, Alan.
I will second that nomination.
Second on that, thank you. Any others? Any discussion? Okay, I guess let me hold back here. So I got 2 nominations. So first nomination for chair, myself, Alan. I guess I should call for discussion on that. Okay, let's go ahead and call for a vote then. Janice. So again, we're going to vote for 1. So I'll just this is voting for Alan now. So Janice, kind of give me a yay or nay, and then we'll go down to the second nomination.
Yay.
Okay, Janelle.
Yay.
Jay.
Yay.
Okay, I will not vote. Catherine.
Yay.
I think we may have had a unanimous vote here. So.
Sorry, Alan.
No, I appreciate the vote of support. So I very much do. Thank you. So Catherine, I think we'll probably not go ahead and vote on the second one. I think I know the outcome. So.
Yep, that's good idea.
Good math.
Yep.
So vice chair, be looking for a nomination for vice chair.
I will nominate.
So how did it work out this year, Alan and Jay? How was that as far as working together?
Oh, I think Jay and I work well together. I mean, we get along fine and have enough differing viewpoints. I think that we challenge each other a good amount. And yeah, we laugh at each other. But I also agree with kind of his thought about trying to change up maybe just the traditional way of meeting with the superintendent on off weeks there. So that is something I think we need to address regardless. So,
and I kind of suggest that possibly changing the way we meet, the methodology, maybe our kind of our thought behind that would be good if you both stayed in the positions, because you know how we can change that, and then you can kind of bring that to us. I mean, I think that might be really nice, considering that I don't know what it looks like on the other side. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I know that Janice does, and Catherine might have been in one of those positions before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was explaining to someone the other day that this, the kind of current method of the meetings, of the agenda setting meetings, the week prior to this meeting, was really a vestige of kind of the way it's always been done in my experience in the last 3 years or so. But been through it here this year, I do feel the kind of desire to re-examine that. So that's my thought on it. And I don't know if Jay, if you had another thought about how it went.
I thought it was great. It was definitely, I think it was good to have differing viewpoints when we had, having discussion. Because I think that when you have 2 people with similar viewpoints that's always agreeable, it can lead to less dialogue, less in-depth looks at things. And, I think you made me look at things in a different way I know I could get a little passionate about the way my things as well. So.
Well, I'd be still looking for a nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate Jay.
I'll second that nomination.
Catherine. Any other nominations for vice chair? Or discussions? Okay, so we're going to vote again, yay or nay. Janice.
Yay.
Janelle.
Yay.
Catherine.
Yay.
I vote yay as well. Congratulations, Jay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, appreciate the discussion there, and I think there's some things we have some marching orders to kind of address here coming up with Steve here in a couple weeks. Okay, so that's the first item. We've got several more. So what we have here is you probably have, as part of the packet for this meeting, a list of organizational topics here that we need to have, I believe, and maybe Dee Dee can chime in here, but I believe we need to have a recommendation to adopt each one of these individually and read out loud. So, for instance, I might say, I move that we hold the regular board meetings at such and such a time, have a second and a vote. Do we need to do those individually? Is that correct? Dee Dee, I believe we talked about that, or David, if you remember.
We haven't always done them individually. The big one is B, though, to make sure that that meeting time is working.
Oh, that's what it was. So we maybe address the meeting time and then the rest we could do as a group. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's right. I remember you telling me that now. So item B here is the recommendation to keep our current board meeting schedule, which is the second Wednesday of each month, at 5 o'clock. So we can have a little discussion if that still works for everybody, if we wanted to shift that at all. I believe maybe the 5 o'clock hour might be just a little tight for getting off work for some folks. So maybe we want to look at moving the time a little bit or the date, or if anybody has any major schedule conflicts with that date. Here's
I'm
your chance.
good with the schedule.
Wednesday works. And I think 5:30 would allow the public to get there after work as well, as some of us to be able to get there and actually kind of settle in a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah, I agree. The 5 o'clock, even for my own business, at times I'm either having to run out the door or hustle up a little bit. So it might be a little nicer for me personally too to slide it back a little bit.
I'm good with 5:30.
Does that pose a challenge for everybody?
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay. So perhaps I would entertain a motion to conduct our regular board meetings as written here, but with 5:30 in there. Someone would be willing.
I would move to keep our board meetings on Wednesdays, changing the time to 5:30 p.m.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Let's go call for a vote then. Catherine,
Aye.
Janice,
Aye.
Jay,
Aye.
Janelle.
Aye.
Okay. We'll slide that to 5:30, otherwise keeping it the second Wednesday. Okay, now we have this slate of the other items here, and it would be appropriate, I would hear a motion to adopt C through N as written, unless there's a particular item anyone thinks we need to address.
Ellen, can I clarify? Are there actually 5 vacancies on the budget committee right now? That would be all positions. That seems like a lot of vacancies.
I think it reads 3 of 5 are vacant.
I'm
So
not
we
seeing
have
that.
2 in there, and then 3 being vacant right now.
Okay, thank you.
So are you waiting for a motion to,
Yes, so I'd be waiting for a motion to adopt these recommended organizational items C through N as written.
I will make a motion to adopt these recommendations C through N as written.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, clarifications, discussion? Okay, let's go for a vote. Catherine,
Aye.
Janice,
Aye.
Jay,
Aye.
and Janelle.
Aye.
Okay. Put those in the books as adopted. That is, I believe, the end of my agenda. So we are a minute and a half or 30 seconds ahead of schedule here. So we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and we'll have to log out of this and log into the second link that was sent out to us. So we'll see you all in a couple minutes here. So
Okay. Bye-bye.
thank you much.
Do we sign out of this and then sign back in again. I'm guessing that's what we do.